Join me and meal prep a week of healthy and nutritious meals. Welcome to my channel. I am so happy you're here. It's my philosophy that meal prep should be anything but boring, or you won't keep up the habit of cooking this way. I believe you should only prepare meals you enjoy and want to eat. Food is more than just fuel, and meal prep is more than just chicken, rice, and broccoli. Healthy eating doesn't have to be dull or flavorless, and the food you consume should nourish you, body, mind, and soul. On the menu this week, I'm making baked eggs and peppers along with cherry protein pancakes for breakfast. For lunch, roasted carrot, cauliflower, and chicken curry soup, and for dinner, ground turkey chorizo, beans, and rice. Join me for the next hour and I'll show you my step-by-step process of how I bring these incredible, delicious, nutritious meals to life. What I'm working on here is taking my sliced carrots, arranging them on my baking sheet, and I'm going to get these into the oven since I know they're going to roast and take a long time to get as roasted and caramelized as I want. So I'm adding my olive oil on and trying to coat them all somewhat evenly. Next, I'll add some salt. Maybe you've seen me do this when I open my salt cellar, but I always give it a little shake so that none of it's stuck together. I'll sprinkle my salt on. I always try to sprinkle at a mix of heights, so I'll go high and low, and that way I know everything's getting coated evenly, especially if I know I'm not going to stir this up or give it a quick toss before I throw it in the oven. So this way I know everything gets coated evenly, and I've got lots of salt and flavor on each little carrot. So I'll put my salt away, and next I'll add some fresh ground black pepper. And just like that, we're ready to go into the oven. We're roasting these, and I set a timer, but really you just want to keep an eye on them until they get to be golden and caramelized and delicious. The next thing that I'm getting out is I'm going to also roast the cauliflower because I know that's going to take a significant amount of time in the oven, and I can work on other things while it's in the oven too. So you'll see me here. I added parchment paper to my smaller sheet pan. And you'll see that I realized this was not the right size. This was not going to work. And also a small cameo from my husband here was throwing something in the recycling bin. But back to this. So yeah, I left this in here. I didn't edit it out because I just wanted you guys to see that even though, I've been doing this for a while and I take the time to plan and all of these things, that sometimes, things just happen and we just move on. So yeah, there's my rice cauliflower. I'm gonna cut the bags open, and yeah, after I put the first bag on there, I realized, oh, this is the wrong size sheet pan. I want everything to have room to get nice and toasty and roasty. Oh, and I also realized that I should have broken it up in the bag a little bit before I put it on the sheet pan. So put it back in and gave it a few whacks here. So we live and we learn, and sometimes that's the fun, is the problem solving and the way we, figure things out as we go. And yeah, you'll see me have a moment of, oh, this is never going to work. But we figured it out. Okay, so now that we figured that out, we'll add some olive oil, salt, and fresh ground black pepper. And we'll put them into the oven to roast with the carrots. Oh, but I learned this, maybe you guys have seen me do this before, but when I use parchment paper on a higher heat, sometimes it just gets a little toasty. And I notice the corners are always the first place to burn. So I always tear or cut them off if I know it's going to be in there for a while. So into the oven they go. I got the timer on, and we'll just keep an eye on it. All right, so the next thing we're getting started on that's going to take a while is we're going to get started on this part of breakfast. We're making protein pancakes this week, and I know I'm using frozen fruit, so I'm getting out my red mixing bowl that we're going to mix the batter in, and then the glass mixing bowl, that's where the frozen cherries, I'm going to toss them in there to defrost in the microwave. And I absolutely love making protein pancakes for breakfast. I feel like they're such an easy thing to repeat week to week too, because you can change the flavor, and then it changes, feel like you're eating something completely different. So I love having something that's a go-to of something you can repeat and enjoy. My husband makes the best protein pancakes here. Here he is, getting the first ones onto the stove and getting them started. Like I said, this process takes a long time. Although I am the main chef of our family, my husband's an excellent cook, and he is the best at protein pancakes. I am not just saying that. While my protein pancakes are sizzling away, I'll also give a check on my roasted carrots, see if anybody's burning or anybody needs to be flipped over. So give them a little check, flip them over, rearrange them as needed, and they'll go back into the oven. Okay, so now that my longest and most time-consuming tasks are started, I'm gonna get out all my containers. You can see the funny way I like to bring them over and then take off all the lids at the same time too. Um, and yeah, last week someone told me that I was really fussy with the way that I arrange them, and I just, I might be a little fussy or a little bit, I like them to be in a nice straight line. And I'm also recording this for you guys, and I'm a very organized person. I like to arrange things, and I think it sets me up too for the video at the end. I want to show everything I made and really, show you guys what I work on and my process. And yeah, if I wasn't taking a video of this and posting it on the internet on YouTube, I probably wouldn't be as fussy. So, shout out for for some love in the comments for anyone else who's fussy like me. We just we are how we are. Now I'll give a check on my roasted cauliflower. Some of the edges are brown here, so I'll give it a quick toss and rearrange everything a little bit so everything can get roasted a little more evenly. I also noticed here that my parchment paper was burning a little bit, so in order to, mitigate any fires, I probably should have cut this off from the beginning since it was a little bit too long. But I'll do that now so this guy doesn't get any more burned. Cauliflower going back in, and I'll give my carrots a check too while I'm here. So I'll give those a stir, and everyone's looking much more roasty and toasty. And we're almost there for these, but they just need a little bit longer. So we'll stir them and then we'll put them back in the oven. Okay, so next I'm gonna get another sheet pan ready because this one's going into the oven. This is gonna be for my breakfast. Now that my parchment paper is all settled and set up, I'm gonna grab some frozen peppers and veggies out of my freezer. And I always like to tidy up my workspace as I go. So I'm gonna start with some peppers that I have cut up from a few weeks ago, and peppers were on sale. Or I like to do this if things are on sale, or say like I only need half a pepper, or I don't know, I bought four and I really only used two of them whatever. I love using my freezer. You guys know that. So I'm going to add these in here first. And I knew that I had some peppers, but I didn't know if I had enough. So I also bought a bag of frozen peppers from Trader Joe's. So I'm going to add some of those in here as well. I'm not going to use all the peppers. I'm going to use them for something else. So I'll set them to the side here. I'll use them for something else this week. Now that I've got my frozen veggies all set onto my sheet pan, I'm gonna add my eggs to scramble them into this glass container here. And I love doing eggs this way. It's super easy. I don't have to think about it. Doing them on the stove is fine, but when you're doing a bunch at one time, and sometimes I will put them directly into the containers, um, but since I've got this is, more like a first world problem, but since I've got other things in the oven already, I can't put all 10 of those containers on one shelf in my oven, so I knew I only had one shelf in my oven available right now. So I'm just going to do them on the sheet pan, and then I'll cut them up and put them into my containers. So I think that's part of sometimes the creativity of like when you're meal prepping, of trying to figure out, okay, if I still need to use my oven, like when should those things go in and those things come out? And did I get any shell in my as I'm breaking my eggs open? So things like that. So give yourself the freedom to, change or adjust or adapt as you go. I definitely thought I was being careful when I was cracking my eggs, but when I got to the end, I realized I was not so careful. So pick out the shells, wash those hands, and then I'm gonna scramble the eggs. I'm gonna add some milk in here too. I realize I need a little bit of liquid in here, probably to just, fill the sheet pan the whole way. But also the milk adds a little more protein, of course, and also just makes the eggs a little fluffier. You could also add water, entirely up to you. While I was scrambling these, I asked my husband to pass me the salt since he was still going with the pancakes. So you saw I gave that little tap to the salt cellar, and then I don't have to get my hand into the salt cellar every time, um, but I can pour it in and not have it all come out in one clump. So little, hot tip there, pro tip. All right, and into the sheet pan, my eggs are going, so I try to pour them in as evenly as I can. Sometimes I do a really good job, other times not so much. So try to pour them in as evenly as you can. You can always, grab a spoon or spatula if you need to, and rearrange them a little bit, or give your sheet pan a little tap tap. Um, so yeah, they're ready to go in the oven now. And I also decided as I was getting ready to put them into the oven, I was going to fold down my parchment paper here just a little bit, um, so that it doesn't burn. I knew that the oven's, very hot. The things are roasting in there already. So I'll just give everybody a quick little fold down. I definitely could have cut it, but sometimes I get a little nervous if there's already something like in the pan to cut it, or like I have to lift it up and then it gets spilled on the other edge and yada yada yada. So I just gave him a fold down. It's probably more information than you needed to know or that you would ask, but now you know. All right, so into the oven the eggs go, and while I was putting the eggs in there, I noticed that the rice cauliflower looked like it was done, so some of it got a little too done, so we'll set that to the side. We won't eat the burnt parts. Um, and I could go into why. I won't now, but don't eat burnt food like that. So I'll I'll get everybody gathered into the center here, and I'll set this off to the side to cool. All right, now we're on to the next task. One that I do not enjoy. I will remove my rings because when I work with raw meat, I do not. I'll wash my hands very well and all the things, but I don't really love raw meat around my rings. So rings come off, and I have chicken breast here, and I'm gonna cut them up into really small pieces. This is going into my carrot, curry, and cauliflower soup. So when I make chicken in a soup like this, I really like when the chicken is cut up into nice small little pieces. I'll remove any of the extra fat I see too, but for the most part, this is pretty lean. Shout out to my husband for grabbing the bowl that I forgot. So thanks, babe. So I like to cut up the chicken into like a really small, I guess, dice. And I love the way that it shows up throughout the soup because it's just like you get like a bite, a nice tender bite of chicken versus like leaving it whole or shredding it. I prefer doing it this way. All right, and that's the end of cutting up four chicken breasts. And yeah, you guys know food safety is really important to me. So um, I'm I always, in between raw foods on the counter, I wipe down with Lysol. I let it sit for a minute and I wipe it down because food safety, bacteria, mitigating all that stuff is not only like very important to me, but I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get my husband sick, and I want my kitchen to be a clean kitchen. So there you go. My roasted carrots are finally done. Yay, they're looking delicious. Of course, I had to give a little taste test to make sure they were the right flavor, but roasting your vegetables just gives them so much flavor. Of course, olive oil, salt, pepper, don't hurt either, but they really just bring out the natural flavors of the vegetables. So now I am going to cut up some shallots. I'm going to use these for my carrot cauliflower chicken curry soup. So I'm going to give these a nice little dice too. All right, now that my shallots are cut, I'm gonna get my olive oil into my pan, heat that up, then my shallots are going in. I'm gonna let these get a head start. I want them to get just a little bit of that, translucent, a little crispy, a little brown, a little caramelized, all that good stuff. So I'm stirring these up, and these are gonna go for a minute or two. Now I'm gonna add in my celery. So I'm doing a little bit of a mirepoix at the beginning. I'm not gonna do carrot because this is gonna be my carrot soup, and I already roasted my carrots to give them their depth of flavor, but I'm gonna get these guys started, and they're gonna cook off a little bit with some salt. All right, so my shallots and celery are still going, but I'm gonna get some olive oil and my chicken into my other skillet. I am doing this just to speed up the process a little bit here. So I'm gonna get my chicken, I'm gonna stir it, and I'm also adding some curry powder in here. So this is curry powder from, I think, Target. But curry powder, and I realized, yep, I'm gonna need way more than that. So take that lid off and get that in there. All right, I'm back to the other bowl. I'm gonna add in my roasted cauliflower here. Some of it stuck a little bit, but I got it off the parchment. I'm gonna add that in here. I don't really need to worry about cooking it. I'm just giving it a stir to just kind of distribute it throughout. So that's going in, and then following that with the roasted carrots. So again, these are not, I'm not cooking either of these. They're already fully cooked. Get every last carrot out. But I'm just gonna give them a stir to distribute a little bit. My chicken's gonna continue to cook, and I'll take my soup mixture off the heat. I'm adding in bone broth here. This is my favorite tool I added into my kitchen recently within the last year, and this is an immersion blender. If you don't have one, you could absolutely use a regular blender, and just be careful with hot things because it will definitely it will splatter if it's hot and you blend it up. So be careful with the immersion blender too, because sometimes you start doing this and you spray yourself with some soup. So be careful here, but I'm blending this up. As you can see, the texture here is a little bit like mashed potatoes, and I want it to be more like soup, so I'm using my same bone broth containers and I'm adding in some water. And I still wasn't really happy with the texture yet here. I wanted it to be a little more soup-like, so I added a bit more water. And I guess my rule here too is you can always add more, so go slowly. And yeah, much harder if you add too much. So go slowly. I think I added like another half of the container here. So now we're getting into a texture that I'm starting to like a little bit more. So now that I'm happy with the texture of the soup, I'm gonna add in my chicken here. See, I could have added in the chicken and it's in here earlier, but then I would have blended the chicken up and that's not really my jam. So I don't really need to cook it much further because the chicken's cooked all the way, all the veggies are cooked, the flavors are formed, but I just kind of want it to meld together a little bit more. So I'll mix it together well and then I'll let it simmer for a bit on the stove. And in the meantime, my peppers and eggs are ready to come out of the oven. They're looking golden and delicious. All right, and now it's time to get started on the last meal. I'm starting it off with some olive oil in my pan, and I'm using soy chorizo from Trader Joe's. This is, something that I love to cook with, even though I'm not vegan or vegetarian. But I love the flavors of this, and I like the texture a lot too. So I know friends who are vegan or vegetarian. Well, actually, I don't remember if this is vegan or not, but friends who don't eat meat like this. So I highly recommend it. So I let this saute a little bit and get a head start in this pan, and then I am adding in some ground turkey. I love doing this because I get to keep the flavors of the soy chorizo, but I get to match it a little bit more with my own nutrition goals, my husband's nutrition goals, which include eating a high protein diet. And I love that you get to keep the flavors and the texture too, and they're very similar. And this just, also cuts down on any more thinking I have to do with how I'm going to season this ground turkey. I know the soy chorizo has amazing flavor, so I get to give it a little bit some more legs here. Okay, so now that this is fully cooked, I'm going to take it out of the pan, set it off to the side. It'll cool off a little bit, and then I'm going to use this same pan in a minute too. Okay, you know the drill. Olive oil down first, let that heat up for a second. Then I'm adding in some onions. I'm gonna saute this, get some caramelization on these onions. Yum! And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my rice cooker. I already rinsed this rice many times. The water is cleared, don't you worry. And I'm adding in this spicy taco sauce from Trader Joe's. So I'm gonna just add a little bit in here. Just you can see which one I'm using here. I'll add a little bit in here and then add some water in to fill it up and get the rice on its way to being cooked. All right, and we'll keep going here. Thanks to my hubby for capturing this onion toss here. I often do this if I don't want to use the spoon or I just want to keep going. So now that my onions have some brown color and caramelized, I'm going to add in some black beans here, 2 cans for us. I didn't rinse these, I just threw them in, so I didn't mind that little bit of like, I guess bean sauce that comes with it. Sometimes I rinse them, sometimes I don't. So yep, I'm gonna heat these up and kind of let these flavors meld together a little bit here too. So while those cook down a little bit, I'm gonna add that same sauce I added into my rice, and I'm gonna put it in here and give that a quick stir and let that come together. All right, my beans and onions have been simmering away, so I'm gonna add in some frozen corn. This doesn't really need cooked much, just needs to be thawed in the mixture. And if you remember, I saved some peppers from my eggs. I added the rest in here. So this pan is very full, but I'm going to very cautiously stir it, and this will be mostly done. All right, and we made it to the end. Time to assemble everything. I am so excited. I always get so excited at this point when everything's done and we're just putting it into the containers. So we've got our protein pancakes going in first here. And now for the savory part of breakfast, those sheet pan eggs and peppers. So I'll get those all cut up and divided and into the containers now. Now we're on to lunch. I've got my carrot cauliflower chicken curry soup, and I'm also gonna, so I'm giving it a stir here just to kind of show you guys the texture where we ended up, and I'm also gonna add in some coconut milk here too. So I'm gonna do a full can of coconut milk here. Oh yeah, I'm excited. I love putting coconut milk in with my soup. I'm a huge fan of coconut, but I also love the way it pairs with this curry. I know it's gonna be delicious with the carrot too. I love the way the coconut just added a little bit more of that soup texture here, so we're getting everything portioned out, and yay, getting toward the end. We're getting toward the end, except for the fact that I forgot I bought Tuscan kale to add into my soup. So I'd already portioned, as you saw, some of my soup into some of my containers. So, oh, I also bought this a day or two before I was going to make it. So I put a paper towel in the container so the kale it didn't go bad. So that's like a hot tip too of like add a paper towel into the container if you know you're not going to use it right away. So my problem solving for this was I just took my kale and I shredded it into a little bit smaller pieces, and I put it directly into my 3 containers that I'd already portioned out. I wasn't going to put the soup back and yada yada. So problem solved, added it in, mixed it in, and we're good to go. All right, and we made it to dinner assembly. I'm gonna start with my spicy rice. I'm gonna get that portioned out first. A little shimmy because the rice is all done. Now we're adding that soy chorizo and ground turkey mix here. All right, and on to the last part, my bean and veggie mix here, adding that on top. You already know I have to get every last drop, no food wasted here. And yeah, we're all done, guys. Thanks so much for following along. If you haven't already, subscribe, and I'll answer any of your questions in the comments. I'll always respond, and I sincerely appreciate your support. Wishing you a wonderful week.